order for you to really feel the authenticity of this world that we were creating, we actually physically needed to be in the bush of South Africa.
And action!
I wanted to be in Africa and I wanted to experience Africa. Somebody mentioned in the beginning, oh, why don't we shoot this in Atlanta? I was like, no way. We're going to Africa to shoot this one. That's one of the reasons I wanted to make it.
This is South Africa at its finest. In the film, we see this beautiful vista. They call it God's country, and you see why.
Getting to come to South Africa to film Beast, first of all, is a dream come true. We got to shoot in 3 locations. First was Limpopo, and that was a different experience. We were staying in a hut.
You could hear all the different variety of animals, just like the birds, the leopards, even a lion, elephant, and giraffe. It was just really nice to be on that reserve and hear all those amazing things.
Right now, we are in South Africa, but specifically we're in the Limpopo region. And we're on set right now at a location on an amazing reserve, a lot of green space. As you can see behind me, you can't duplicate this anywhere in the world. You can see the African plains and savannas right behind me. The problem was we had no idea how we would get our truck to this location. And I challenged our amazing crew and our amazing technical team to find a way to make this location work. So they actually built a ramp where there was none to bring the cars up, to bring the actors up, and to bring the equipment up. And it allowed us to shoot this scene in a location without compromising.
So in our story, our lead actors visit an abandoned village. They call it the Ghost Village. And we find that there's no one here, and they quickly realize that they should probably hightail it out of here.
That entire village did not exist. It was all created from scratch by Jean Van Zandt and his team. Our production designer did such an amazing job, and they worked with the locals to make sure that it felt real.
So here is the beginning of the set, where we will go through the buildings to enter the village and to avoid to discover everything at the same time. So this will be where Nate's daughter will be lost the first time. So I designed a realist maze, but really more architecture to be sure that there is transparency.
Jean Van Sant, when we scouted, saw that rock formation and backdrop and felt like this was the perfect place for the village.
The detail is incredible. Every single facet of the village life was by design.
We had people on the crew who said, this looks like the village that I grew up in. This is such a good job. The other thing was a watering hole.
We couldn't find a watering hole that fulfilled what we were looking for. So I think in the end, we decided to create a water hole.
We actually drilled down deep into the earth, into the water table, and pumped water up and created our own watering hole. It looks so real that the animals have found our watering hole. And after we're done filming, they can have it. But we got to keep them out right now because sometimes actors don't do quite so well next to some of the wildlife. Somebody else that worked on our crew that I was so impressed by was our costume designer, Maura Meyer, because we wanted to make sure that this felt authentic to the region and to what people wear.
We are using the costuming, some typical Venda cloths to give the viewer the feeling where we are.
I didn't want to make it the Hollywood version of these kind of places. I wanted to make it very authentic. At the same time, they needed to show the journey on the clothes.
When you talk about actors wearing the same costumes for 75% of a script, you are involved in what we call multiple costume nightmare, actually. So, for instance, Nate's character, he has literally got 60 pairs of the same trousers, 90 pairs of the same T-shirt, and 70 pairs of the same shirt.
I need you to trust me right now.
With a film like this, you have to make sure that you've got costumes that can weather the elements, and she did that really well.
I want you to breathe and feel and smell this movie as visceral as it can be.
Go back to the calls.
We wanted our story to be one that told the beauty of this land and of the people who live here, but also the fact that there are real stakes, real peril, and real danger makes for an incredibly entertaining film.
It's absolutely a cinematic experience. I felt this way, I lived it, and I was there, and I want to bring that to the screen. I love every second of it, and I really love the people there. It's a great country to shoot in.
Your mother and I, we mutually agreed.
She got sick. You missed it.
Nora, no, don't go.
It's okay, I'll go to her,
What
Dad.
are you talking about? Nora, hey,
I
Nora.
shouldn't have brought this up.
The story is about a family, a grieving family, led by Dad, Nate, and his two daughters.
This is a family that is in such turmoil. It's hard for them to get beyond major issues that are right there with them.
Get back in the car! It's a moment of your life when you're about to lose your family. And now there's this chance of getting it together.
This is the family. That was real family. Nate is really trying to use this trip to build the bond back with his daughter. This little bump right here, you know what that is? That's you. But, you know, it's very difficult. She doesn't want to let him in.
She fights just like her mom.
My guy, Idris Elba, he and I have worked together on a lot of films, but nothing quite like this.
Will Packer and I are always wanting to work with Trevor and find projects that stretch us. And when he brought me this script, you know, I was like, really, Will? Okay, we're going here.
There's really great movie stars, and then there's some great actors. But Idris Elba is the full package.
I found those kids. Do you understand? That's why we're here.
And then you see him fighting a lion, and that's what you need a movie star for.
Working with Idris Elba is a dream come true. He's super fun. When we're in the car, we're rapping. Like, he's making like these hilarious sounds.
Supersize burger, Nate. Milkshake, man. Milkshake, yeah.
Okay, Dad, we get it. He made me feel so comfortable after takes. He'll be like, great job. Just working with him is literally, I say this every time, but a true dream come true.
Take 3, Charlie Parker. Mr. Elba has taught me a lot of things, like trusting your gut, like your instincts. It was very nice to learn that because sometimes I would think something but then think something else though. So he would tell me, just go with your gut. And I learned something very nice from that.
What can I say? Your future is bigger than your afro.
One of the great surprises that I think audiences will find is that these two young actors that play his daughters are talented beyond their years.
It says so very clearly right here on the top.
Just because you wrote your name on a hat doesn't mean it's not true.
Mary's the older one. She's the tough one, you know. She's tough on her father.
Do you even know where we are? Do you know where?
Come on. She's a photography student just like her mom. And in this film, she's iced him out.
Someone's gonna come find us. I promise you, okay?
You can't promise her that. She's just a typical teenager who's dealing with the death of her mom, as well as mending a relationship with her dad.
We auditioned every girl that was the right age, and they were the standouts.
I always thought you guys would get back together.
I did too.
I started off just journaling. Even during the audition process, I created my own version of her.
Nora!
Nora!
Nora and Nate, they're closer. Nora, she's a daddy's girl. She loves her dad.
Are you scared?
No, I have a rainbow of emotions at my disposal, Mayor. Me and Iyana, we just talk to each other like actual siblings. We could say something to each other and we'd be like, girl, what are you talking about? No, that's not what I said. No, that's not, no. What do you, okay, girl, you know what, bye.
She's a fun one, the one that's kind of goofing about. She can talk a lot, but she really is the comedic heartbeat to the film.
I feel like I am like Nora, and I just think that we do have similarities, but also Nora's more of a tomboy, and me, I'm also like a girly girl.
With my dad, Idris, and my little sis, we are literally like a real family. I feel like the chemistry is there. It's so real. She's the true like glue that holds the family together.
It was really great seeing Iyana and Leah get together in real life and then bring it to life on the screen. In fact, all three of us, when we were doing our scenes, became a little bit of a family unit.
You know, hey besties.
What was that?
Hey besties.
Hey, besties.
Hey
Why
besties.
are we doing this?
Martin is probably the only person that can really understand where Nate's coming from.
Why didn't he come to the funeral? I didn't want to see her buried in a concrete plot.
They share the grief. He's a great actor, Sharlto. I love him.
He could have been a professional footballer, but the acting thing happened.
I saw Sharlto in District 9, and, you know, it was a brilliant performance. He's a very kind of eccentric and interesting guy.
You like to spread yourself? She's got a long distance one now. She just...
He brought such a cool authenticity to this character. You got this sense of somebody of the country who fully embraced everything about it.
Even when we were doing like the table read, he was able to add like a lot of input, like, oh, we wouldn't say this or we wouldn't do this because he's a real South African.
I'm feeling very confident when I see this little safety rope.
We were just talking the other day, like, I hope we can all stay in contact.
Hey, besties. Hey, besties.
Hey. He's great. I love him.
I want to say a big shout out to my beautiful daughters. We found ourselves sort of getting closer in real life, and then when we was on camera, just felt quite natural.
It really is like a whole mini family, and even after like we completely wrap, like I pray we all get to stay in touch.
It's very powerful for me to see a family functioning together, coming together and play as one.
Hey, look out the window.
He's no lion I've ever seen. We're in his territory now.
Visual effects are anything you cannot do in camera on the day, whether that's a completely computer-generated lion, or even just perhaps enhancing the sunset.
Balt's brief on Beast was to really try and ground the film as much as we can. The main point of this movie is for us to try and capture the essence of what makes this character appear realistic.
Balt has always said this creature has to live in this world. We don't need to see it that often all the time, but when we finally do, it has to be completely believable.
We sat with Balt and we started designing what would be our beast. After iterations, we finalized the design, and that goes to the creature department, and they help us build an actual model.
We built the animal in the 3D world. Then there is a texturing part, which is coloring the lion. And then there is the part where you add bones to the 3D asset.
Not only does it have to move in the same way a lion would, it has to sort of fit into this natural space. So when the lion's in the water, for example, we want to move an object through the water and try to understand a similar shaped object.
We have lion head, we have the pelt, we have lion paws. All of those are elements that the creature department have developed based on our designs and us working together to have something that's photographically accurate for us to portray in the film.
Humans and cats move extremely differently, and people cannot move anywhere near as fast as a lion. So even though we have stunt players providing an interactive moment for our actors, most of that work is just going to be replaced.
How's it feel in there? Comfortable, actually.
Most of the time we had a guy in a gray suit, a big stunt guy that needed to be choreographed to give us the movement.
The stunt performers on set, they really only need to be there for the actor to play against so that we get a better performance from the actor.
Hello, my name is Owen McRae, and I am a creature movement specialist. I'm playing the lion on The Beast. I work with visual effects quite a bit. Being a creature movement person, you have to understand how visual effects like to create a scene. Balt briefed me on the job, told me about the different lion movements that he wants from me, how he wants this lion to move, how he wants him to interact with the actor, the aggression level, and of course to bring a creature like this to life.
It's a lot of work.
By using stunt actors and our actors performing choreography together versus something that we might in other circumstances be doing with a motion capture suit, we're not having to play pretend. Our actors have something to react to, something to feel the physicality of, and these are all things that you would miss if you were to do something on a motion capture suit.
It is difficult to mimic a lion's movement. It's quite a big creature, so it's very difficult to get the height as well as the movement.
We are absolutely going to be focusing at various times on the lion. It is in bright daylight.
I see you there. Easy. Easy, easy.
Martin just hugs and interacts with two male lions, and that is something we've all seen footage of, and we need to make this exactly replicate that.
Hello, did you miss me? You boys miss me?
See the lions in the beginning, and Martin goes and cuddles it. That is all done in one shot, one take.
Okay, all right, okay, I'm going.
From a visual effects point of view, it's another increment down the road of like amazing photo, natural skin textures, lighting on the lion's eyes, teeth. And nobody's really gone there, but these lions, like you have never seen lions before.
Everybody knows that a wounded lion is dangerous, but I've never seen anything like this.
That is scary.
That is scary.
Herd angry lion is something you don't want to meet in the wild forests of South Africa. The lions are taken from the animals, the prides are killed, human beings have become their enemy.
There's a lot of damage to humans in this movie. You gotta make sure that you've got somebody that knows how to authentically create prosthetics.
Prosthetics is different skill sets from prop making, costume and makeup, SFX. There's an entire process to bring all of this together. We use a combination of digital and practical processes. This is a bust of Idris Elba, so we are better prepared for where these wounds need to actually be placed.
Thank you, Bob.
Beast itself has that sort of ferocity that there's carnage everywhere.
We create wounds according to how the animal locks onto the body. The research we have to do is real references, bite wounds on human or on other animals. This lion is much bigger than traditional lions, so the puncture wounds are way more intense.
Okay, what's he saying? Diabolo means devil.
So Mutende is one of the first villages with the fatal lion attack. And for that, we had to use a neck appliance with a combination of blood rigs. So this is made to be wrapped around the skin and blended by using some of the medical glues. And he had also one fatal wound on the upper arm, and that also had blood rigs.
Should we rehearse before you wet him all up so he doesn't get the blood on the Idris?
In terms of the blood, each artist has their own recipe. Glucose, food coloring, maybe some sorbitol, sometimes glycerine. We'll have some lighter blood and darker blood, depending on if it was an animal's blood or a human blood.
I won't have to state the obvious, but we got to stop the bleeding.
That feels good.
So with Martin's leg, this being in line with one of the main arteries, that main artery is hit. And all of this is practical, so there is blood rigs underneath.
I had to, with a very fine needle, punch all the little hairs into the skin. When they had to cauterize the wounds, some of the hair got singed, which just adds to the realism.
The scene with it burning there with the knife, it's very gruesome.
So Mare, there's a claw that hits her on the side. We start off with a loose idea of what it could be.
When Mare gets attacked by this lion, even like touching my stomach and stuff, it was like, oh snap, it's blood on me.
We've created a corset, and all the details that you see in here, this is all sculpted in the clay that's gone through that molding and casting process.
To me, it looked super, super, super real, and I'm glad that we got prosthetic thing because it made it that much more real.
This is the process of getting all of the blood with Mare.
Being a prosthetics artist is like being a crazy scientist.
It's hours and hours, weeks of work, but it's something I absolutely love doing.
Clinton's team did such a great job. When you look at the film, it is seamless.
There's a lot of prosthetics that needs to be visceral, brutal. Team working on that, he did a fantastic job.
It's the law of the jungle. We're in his territory now.
The final battle is the big showdown. This is what I think the audience are really coming to see when it's man versus lion.
It builds up to this moment that you stop running away from it and you actually go against it.
You've been waiting this whole movie for it to be Idris and the lion. This sequence delivers on that.
We took a lot of time trying to understand what this might look like. Obviously, we didn't use any lions, so we had to figure out a way that this looked as real as possible. We referenced a few films that had seen some version of this, but we wanted to do something better. The prep was enormous. The actual choreography, we took time sort of mapping that out. For me, it was really important that the dynamics of a man being attacked by a lion are as true as it can be.
Any interaction between the lion and him at that point needs to be so well thought out and choreographed.
The way we actually did a lot of that was the stunt performer was physically moving me around as hard as he could to replicate the strength of a lion.
I'm going to be attacking Idris. He's going to be using various weapons. It's going to be the face-off of two beasts.
When the lion swipes and Idris ducks and Idris rolls and the lion falls on top of him, all of that stuff we rehearsed over and over and over again to get it just right, to make sure you feel like Idris at any point is literally within a hair's breadth of losing it all.
We used various mechanisms to do that. I had a pulley on my chest on a harness so he could literally pick me up and throw me. He wore sort of like a mask thing that sort of gave the scale of what this lion might look like and feel like. It was tough, man. It took us probably the best part of 2 weeks to shoot the sequence.
The idea from the beginning was to go for the final battle, man versus lion, as a one-shot, one-take moment.
We took time to sort of construct that from the choreography to the camera moves to what the VFX was going to do.
We used every tool possible. This is VFX at its most difficult.
I saw the movie and was like, wow, I just fought a lion. That looks incredible.
And hopefully people will experience it the way I intended it, because there was definitely a lot of ambition put into that.
Lions. They fascinate us, terrify us, and captivate our imaginations. We observe them, tell stories about them, and revere them. But unfortunately, we also put them in great peril. As one of the animal kingdom's apex predators, at first glance, lions would seem impervious to threat, but they are not without their own predator.
When European settlers first came to Africa, one of the first things they did was to try to protect themselves and their own livestock from predators. And the Western style of livestock protection is to kill all the predators. And so what happened was that a lot of the wildlife, particularly in South Africa, was just eradicated, cleared for farming and ranching. And so we can say fairly sure that the amount of wildlife habitat in Africa has just precipitously dropped from, say, the 1890s, probably like by 90%.
There's a lion called a Barbary lion. This lion is already extinct, so it's really important to keep the animals safe.
There's very few lions left in the wild, and it's a very real possibility that there may not be lions left in the next generation.
Over the past 20 years, the lion population has decreased over 40%, and poaching is a serious contributor. Why are lions poached?
The two largest impacts on lion populations are habitat loss and retaliatory killings.
We have this mindset that we each deserve to have our own plot, our own land, our own house, our own fence, and we're encroaching into other species areas, and particularly the big, wide-ranging species like lions.
This is the animal's territory. They don't want anyone else coming in there and destroying the landscape.
With habitat loss, if you're taking away the land, the grass for the prey, for the lions, you're in effect taking away the lion's meat, right? And if the lion eats some of our meat, and then we kill him in retaliation, then that's the other thing. So those are the two biggest problems.
In certain parts of the world, there is also a high demand for lion parts, including skins, bones, and teeth. And simple trophy hunting also remains a serious problem for lion populations. Poaching has far more reaching consequences than you may realize. Unlike the creature we meet in Beast, a lone lion has a relatively low success rate when it comes to hunting. Like people, lions thrive in group environments, and when 2 or more lions hunt together, their success rate more than doubles.
Lions live in prides. They're one of the most social of all the cats.
They form these groups, pairs and trios, and they work as a unit. If you think of any other cat species, whether it's a domestic cat, a leopard, a jaguar, a tiger, you think of a solitary animal. And yet here is a species where these individuals, they're so affectionate with each other.
A typical lion pride contains 15 lions across multiple generations. When an adult member of the pride is poached, it can affect everything from reproduction to defense of their territory.
The problem with sport hunting has been that our traditions of shooting wildlife for sport are largely based on hunting things like elk and deer. You go out, you shoot a male who has a great big rack of antlers, and it's no big deal to the population as a whole because the male does very little after he's impregnated the females. Within this complex social system of the lion, you have a group of females that protect this territory from other females, and you have a group of males that protect their females against other males. You're not just shooting a very impressive individual, you're also shooting somebody's father.
This is actually quite a common thing that happens in some parts of Africa where their structure is broken up by the poaching, and some animals end up being rogue. And the rogue ones end up either really frightened, really hungry, a little bit, disoriented, and very fearful, and can be quite dangerous.
While poaching is a serious problem, humans hold responsibility even beyond illegal hunting. As our own population grows, spreads, and takes over more and more of the lion's natural habitat, their space and natural food supply decreases at dramatic rates. Human communities can also isolate lion habitats, making it harder for them to spread out and reproduce effectively. So whether by intention or by our mere presence, humans are simply a serious problem for wildlife.
Given the best guesstimate, probably on the order of 20 to 30,000 lions remain in the wild across Africa. And that's a really low number.
That said, there's a lot of hope. Lions can breed, they can reproduce really rapidly and repopulate areas. We can't let up. We have to keep going at it. We have to keep working really hard to protect these lions.
There are important steps you can take to reduce lion poaching. First, never buy any product including lion parts. This includes medicines, jewelry, furniture, and decorative household items. Second, spread the word. Make sure your friends, family, and social media followers know how important it is to protect the wildlife of Africa. Third, urge those in power to make meaningful change and enforce laws and restrictions meant to protect our lion population.
Lions, they're not here to hurt you. They're just going about their daily lives. They're trying to find food, they're trying to take care of their young, and they're trying to be, good pride members. So they need humans to leave prey, leave habitat, and tolerate them, understand them.
The lion has been so symbolic of power, majesty. Think of the number of national emblems that haven't had lions for hundreds and thousands of years. And if we cannot protect an animal as iconic as the lion, what hope is there for almost anything else?
While humans carry some of the responsibility, we also have the power to make a positive impact. The real beast of the plains should not leave behind a human footprint.